So we're recording. Let's talk about systems of inequalities. So this time I'm given a system and I need to graph this system. My first step in graphing a system of inequalities is to put it into y-intercept form or slope-intercept form, solving for y. It's already in that form. So I get to just graph. So I'm going to change my color. I'm going to start with blue and I'm going to graph y is less than 2. I know that that is a 0 slope, so I just need to begin at 2 and draw myself a line, only we need to talk about whether that line is solid or dotted. That's a dotted line because it does not include those values. So I'm going to make myself a dotted line right there. And now I'm going to talk about where I'm going to shade. Am I going to shade above or below that line? This is less than, so I need to shade below. Now let's talk about the other line. Y is greater than x plus 3. I begin at 3 and I move up 1 and in the positive direction 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. Now I've got to draw my line. My line is also going to be dotted because it does not include the values on the line. I'm going to shade it. My shading is greater than, so I'm going to shade above my line. Now we need to talk about the intersection of the shading. The intersection is right here. So my solution lies where all the green is. Here were my steps. Solve for y, graph and shade the first inequality, graph and shade the second inequality, note the overlap. That's where our solution is. Questions? All right, let me pass out your notes and you guys can copy that. Okay, so let's graph this system of inequalities. So I'm going to begin with this inequality right here. We always begin with our y-intercept, so I'm going to begin at -1. My slope is 1/3, so I'm going to rise up 1 and to the right 1, 2, 3. My line is going to include the line, right? It's going to be a solid line because I've got greater than or equal to. I'm going to make sure I have a solid line, blue solid line. So here's that first line. And we want to go ahead and shade. Let's look at this. Greater than means I shade above. Greater means more than, right? So I shade above my line. I'm going to change my color to pink, and let's look at this inequality. This inequality begins at +2, so I'm going to go up to 2. My slope is 4 over 3, so I'm going to rise up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and move in the right 3, 1, 2, 3. Might as well do one more set of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. My line's also going to be solid again because I've got this line underneath here that says it's including the line. So change my color. Here's my line. And now I just need to consider whether I need to shade above or below. This line says less than, that means I shade below or less than the line, underneath the line. My overlap is my solution, so I'm going to color that in where I see both pink and blue. And there's my pink and blue. Pink and blue make green. Not really, right? Questions on this? You guys ready for another one? All right, try this one on your own. Recording. Okay, so let's look at this system. Like you guys said, this system has the same slope, so we're going to have parallel lines here. I've got a question for you. I'm going to have parallel lines. What's going to be the distance between the lines, just by looking at this? Good, 4, right? This one's going to be translated below the line, below the x-axis right there. And this one in the pink is going to be translated up to. So they will have a distance equal to 4 units, all the way up and down, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and graph the first one. So we begin at -2 and we move up 1 and over 2 in the negative direction. Up 1 and over 2 in the negative. Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. Is this line going to be dashed or solid? It's going to be dashed, right? Because it doesn't have that line underneath it that says including. So it's going to be a dashed line. Now let's talk about our shading. Does this sign that says greater than mean I'm going to shade up or down? Up. Greater than means up. I'm going to shade up. Uh-oh. We got an issue. Right there. Okay. So now I'm going to do the other line. Let's graph the other line. It's y is greater than -1/2 x plus 2. So I begin where? +2. We already began, right? And I'm going to rise up 1 and over 2 in the negative direction. Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. Actually, I'm not going to try that hard because I've got this really cool technology that allows me to just, oh, I grabbed the wrong one. Got to make sure I grab the line. There we go. Copy. Paste. What happened? Not so good, huh? There we go. Oh, I cut it. Copy, paste, and change the color, right? Make it pink. And put it up here so we know that they're truly parallel, right? Now, let's talk about shading it with this pink line. Am I going to shade above the line or below the line? Above. You don't look at this and say, oh, since we shaded up on the last one, let's shade down for this one. It has nothing to do with the graph. It has everything to do with this inequality. So since this inequality says greater than, I need to shade more or up. So I'm going to shade above my pink line. So where's my solution? Everything above the pink line. Where they're both at. Questions on that one? We're just flying through these. Do I need to give you a second to copy that down, or most of you done? Anybody need it? You guys are working fiercely, but I think you're just moving on to the next one. Okay, what's the difference between this one and the last one? We got to solve for y first, right? So I'm going to do the blue one first because it's the top one. Where do I begin on this line, class? 3. And where do I move? Up 2 over 1? Up 2 over 1. Is this line going to be dashed or solid? Solid. Here's my solid line. Am I going to shade above or below the line? Less than means below. All right, now let's go to, is that our 7-minute bell? No, can't be. Am I just hearing things? Okay, it's not the first time, probably not the last. Okay, so 2y is greater than x minus 2. So you guys said we had to solve for y first, right? So I'm going to divide everybody by 2. When I divide everybody by 2, I get y is greater than 1/2 x minus 1. So where am I going to begin for this line? -1. And where am I going to move? Up 1 and to the right 2. Up 1 to the right 2. Is this line going to be solid or dashed? Dashed. Don't you hate that when you don't do the dashed line, then you got to erase it? I do too. It happens to all of us. Okay. Am I going to shade above or below this line? Above. So I go above the line. And where's my overlapping? Pink and blue? Pink and blue make green? Remember the whole yellow and blue make green Ziploc bag? No? Is that way past your time? Or way past? Yeah. way before your time, we should say. Way before your time. There were Ziploc bags, and one of the sides of the line had a blue, and the other side had a green, and the side had a yellow. And when you zip it together, you knew it was tight because the line turned green. Yellow and blue made green.
Oh no, we didn't change color.
Okay. So now it's blue and pink make purple. Well, when I was a kid, it was yellow and blue make green. Okay. What about this one? How many examples do I have on your sheet? I think it's time to... Ooh, we have some with 3. I like 10. I want to give you guys time to do your homework. Let's get started on your homework. You're very welcome. Okay, so can we stop the shuffling, please, since I'm going to let you get started on your homework? I need you to stop. Let's talk about our closing thought. Stop the shuffling. Stop the shuffling. What did we learn today? Not just graphing inequalities, but systems of inequalities, right? Systems. What is different about a system of inequalities and a system of equations? A system of inequalities has multiple solutions. How many solutions does a system of equations have? 1, where they intersect, right? Where those lines cross. Inequalities, you've got many because you've got the shading going on. The person next to you is absent. How would you explain where to find the solutions to a system of inequalities? Where the shadings overlap, right? That's your solution. On your assignment sheet, this one's a little bit... Okay, they're coming back to you right now. On your assignment sheet, sketch a system of inequalities that would have no solution. Think about what that would look like. Something that will never overlap. The shading will never overlap. This is a good question for you guys. So think, and Jeremiah's going to pass back those papers, and I'm going to go ahead and get your homework out to you. Good job, guys.